A missile hit a crowded train station in eastern Ukraine that was an evacuation point for civilians, killing 50 people, including 5 children. Footage from the scene showed bodies covered with tarps on the ground and the remnants of the rocket with the words "for the children" painted on it in Russian.
Today I wanted to evacuate. We arrived at the railway station. We waited about an hour. They said the train would be at 12 o'clock to Uzhgorod. There were a lot of people. Suddenly someone shouted, "Fall on the floor!" And at the moment people started pushing everybody on the floor. I also sat down. I heard the explosions. The screaming was unbelievable. The children started screaming too. There were a lot of families with children.
Press service of the Donetsk Regional Administration said many of the wounded were in serious condition. Video of the aftermath showed piles of suitcases and other belongings scattered on the floor outside of the station.
They all had shrapnel injuries, because this is the kind of shrapnel that pieces are scattered around here, and people were wounded by those pieces. That were those fragments that killed them.
The governor, Pavlo Korolenko, accused Russian forces of firing cluster munitions. He published a photograph online showing several bodies on the ground besides piles of suitcase and other luggage.
The enemy, taking into account its means of surveillance, clearly knew that it was a railway station, that it was a town, that there was a gathering of people. The enemy did it to prevent people from leaving the region.
Authorities warned they expected even worse evidence of war crimes in parts of the country previously held by the Russian troops. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that thousands of people were at the station, where trains were evacuating civilians westward from the Ukraine-held town ahead of an expected Russian offensive.
The Russian military struck at the railway station in our city of Kramatorsk, at the usual train station, at ordinary people. There was no military. At the people who were waiting for trains to leave to a safe area, they hit people with missiles. Once again, this is an ordinary train station, an ordinary city in the east of our state. That's how Russia came to defend Donbas. That's how Russia came to protect Russian-speaking people. This is how we live for the 44th day.
Britain's Defense Secretary Ben Wallace described the attack on Kramatorsk as an apparent case of Russian precision missiles aimed at people trying to seek humanitarian shelter.
The striking of civilian critical infrastructure is a war crime. These were precision missiles aimed at people trying to seek humanitarian shelter.
The European Union authorities condemned Russia's attack on civilians and accused Russia of war crimes.
I strongly condemn this morning's indiscriminate attack against a train station in Kramatorsk by Russia, which killed dozens of people and left many more wounded. This is yet another attempt to close escape routes for those fleeing this unjustified war and cause human suffering. Josep Borrell, EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, on Twitter.
The missile attack this morning on a train station used for evacuations of civilians in Ukraine is despicable. I am appalled by the loss of life, and I will offer personally my condolences to President Zelensky. My thoughts are with families of the victims. Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, on Twitter.
Russia denies targeting civilians. The Russian Defense Ministry said to have struck the station were used only by Ukraine's military and that Russia's armed forces did not have any targets assigned in Kramatorsk. Russia state-owned TV exactly after the accident shared preliminary information about the death from the allegedly Ukrainian Tochka-U missile strike in Kramatorsk. Propaganda has miscalculated the fact that there is plenty of evidence to show that the missiles were launched deliberately and intentionally by the Russian side. In the Telegram channels in the temporarily occupied territories, the self-proclaimed authorities from last night urged people not to use the railway to evacuate. News about the shelling of Kramatorsk was published by some Russian media even before the terrorist attack. And a video of the rocket launch from Shakhtarsk in Luhansk region, which is temporarily uncontrolled by Ukraine, was released. The Ukrainian Interior Ministry dispelled the myth of Russian propaganda. Vadim Denisenko, advisor to the Minister of Internal Affairs, explained on the air of the all-Ukrainian telethon United News why the statements of Russian media are lies.
They even messed up here in terms of information, because RIA Novosti reported minute by minute on the alleged shelling of the Kramatorsk train station by the Ukrainian army, when no one in Ukraine had time to post the news. Moreover, they say that Tochka-U does not exist in the Russian armed forces, while a month and a half ago they were reporting that the exercises in Belarus included training on the use of Tochka-U.
Accordingly, all indications are that the terrorist attack in Kramatorsk was planned by the Russian Federation, and the day of mass evacuation of Donbas residents to the safe places of Ukraine served as a trigger for Russian propaganda. Reported by Roman Smoler, Ksenia Buhai, UATV.